Hi students, my name is Jatin Dewan, and today in this chapter we are going to be reading about and studying about human health and diseases. So health, what is health? Health is defined as a state of complete mental, physical, social well-being of a human. Factors that affect health are genetic disorders, infection, lifestyle, steps to achieve good health, balanced diet, then awareness about diseases and maintenance of hygienic food and water resources. Diseases and their types. Diseases are two types: infectious and non infectious. Infectious are the ones which are easily transmitted from one person to the other, and non infectious are the ones which cannot be transmitted from one person to the other. So, casual agents are usually virus, which cause common cold, polio, measles. Bacteria causes typhoid, pneumonia, plague, diphtheria, tetanus. Protozoa causes malaria and amoebiasis. Fungi cause ringworm, and helminthiasis causes ascariasis, filariasis. So, common diseases. First one we'll study here is about typhoid. Typhoid is caused by the pathogen, which is a bacterium named Salmonella typhi. So, organs affected are small intestine, migrate to the other organs through blood, and method of transmission is usually contamination of food and water. So, symptoms would be high fever, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, loss of appetite, intestinal perforations, etc. So, could be confirmed through vital test. Pneumonia is the next one. Pathogen which causes pneumonia is Streptococcus pneumoniae or Haemophilus influenzae. It enters the body by inhaling droplets, aerosols released by infected person. It affects alveoli of lungs, due to which it gets filled with fluid, leading to respiratory problems. Symptoms would include fever, chill, cough, headache, lips and fingers may turn grey to blue. Malaria. So in malaria is caused by a pathogen called Plasmodium. That could be Plasmodium vivax, uh, Plasmodium malariae, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium falciparum. So malignant malaria is always caused by Plasmodium falciparum, which is fatal. Organs which get affected are liver and your RBCs. So method of transmission is obviously by biting of a female Anopheles mosquito, which is a vector. And symptoms would include high fever, chill, fever occurs on alternative days, and vomiting. So life cycle of malaria parasite would be that Plasmodium starts with inoculation of sporozoites, that is the infective stage. Then the parasite initially multiplies itself within the liver cells and then attacks the RBCs. So if you see here, it attacks the RBCs. Then there is a release of toxic substance called as hemozoin from the ruptured RBCs, which are responsible for fever, which has chills along with it. From the infected human, the parasite enters in the body of Anopheles mosquito during biting and sucking blood. Further development takes place in the body of Anopheles mosquito. The female mosquito takes up gametocytes with the blood meal. Formation of gametes and fertilization takes place in the intestine of mosquito itself. The zygote develops further and forms thousands of sporozoites which migrate into the salivary gland of mosquito. When the mosquito bite enters another human sporozoite, then it is injected. The malarial parasite requires two hosts, that is human and Anopheles, to complete their life cycle. Then the fourth one will be amoebic dysentery or amoebiasis. The pathogen which causes it is protozoan parasite, which is called as Entamoeba histolytica. And then the organs which get affected are large intestines of humans. Method of transmission usually includes the housefly, which act as a mechanical carrier, and symptoms which are there present in a person suffering with this disease would include constipation, abdominal pain, cramps, stools with excess of mucus, and blood clots. The next disease is Ascariasis. Ascariasis is caused by a pathogen which is a nematode called as Ascariasis, Ascaris lumbricoides. Then this affects the intestine of a man. Method of transmission usually include contaminated water, vegetable and fruits. Symptoms include internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, blockage of intestinal passage. The next disease, which is also called as filariasis or elephantiasis, is caused by a filarial worm, a nematode parasite again, which is Wucheria. It slowly develops chronic inflammation of organs in which they live for many years, usually the lymphatic vessels of lower limbs. Then genital organs are also affected through this, and the mode of transmission is biting of infected female Culex mosquito. The symptoms would include chronic inflammation of the organs, abnormal swelling of lower limbs, scrotum, and penis. Hence, the disease is named as elephantiasis or filariasis. Then next is ringworms. Ringworms are caused by fungi, which could be Microsporum or Trichophyton. Then organs which get affected are skin, nail, fold of skin, and groin. Method of transmission is usually it gets acquired from the soil and using towels, clothes, or even comb of infected individual. Symptoms which are shown in an infected person are dry, scaly lesion on various parts of body such as skin, nail, and scalp, and there is intense itching involved. Now, immunity. Immunity is the overall ability of host to fight the disease causing organisms conferred by the immune system is called immunity. Immunity is of two types, innate immunity and the other one would be acquired immunity. So innate immunity is called as inborn immunity. So always available to protect our body. This is called the first line of defense, consists of various barriers that prevent entry of foreign agents into the body. If it enters the body, then they are quickly killed by some other component of this system. Different types of barriers are as follows. The first one is physical barriers. Skin is the main barrier which prevents the entry of a microorganism. Mucous coating of the epithelium lining of respiratory, gastrointestinal, urinogenital tracts help in trapping microbes. The second one is physiological barrier. Physiological barriers would mean like acid in stomach, saliva in mouth, and tears. Then there is cellular barrier like WBCs, natural killer cells, monocytes, macrophages in the tissues. The last barrier we'll have here, the second last barrier is cytokine barrier, then which includes the virus infected cells secrete proteins called interferon, which protect the cell from further infections. Acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is also known as adaptive immunity, the immunity developed after birth. Then it supplements the immunity provided by innate immunity. Then acquired immunity has got a couple of features, which is specificity, diversity, and discrimination between self and non-self, and memory. These responses are carried out by two types of lymphocytes present in blood, that is B and T lymphocytes. The B lymphocyte produce various proteins in response to those pathogens called as antibodies. Acquired immunity is of two types, humoral and cell-mediated. So this is the structure of the antibodies, and this is what it looks like. There is IgM, IgD, IgE, IgA. So the antibodies have 4 polypeptide chains and then 2 small chains called the light chains. Then 2 longer chains are called heavy chains, and antibody is always represented as H2L2. Different classes of antibody produced in body are IgA, IgM, IgD, IgE, and IgG. So active and passive immunity. Active immunity would include antibodies are produced in the body, and these are ready-made antibodies. Active immunity is long-lasting, wherein passive immunity just lasts for a few days. Active immunity has adverse effects, which are very few, and passive immunity has more adverse effects. It does not act immediately in the case of active immunity, and passive immunity acts immediately. Active immunity is produced by our body, and passive immunity is taken from outside. Vaccination and immunization is based on memory of immune system. It generates antibodies that neutralize toxins or pathogens. It produces memory cells. Now AIDS. AIDS stands for Acquired Immunodeficiency Syndrome. Deficiency of immune system that acquired during lifetime and non-congenital disease. Syndrome means a group of symptoms. At all, AIDS was first reported in 1981. AIDS is caused by HIV, that is human immunodeficiency virus. HIV is a retrovirus having RNA as the genetic material. So there are several modes of transmission, that is sexual contact with the infected person, transfusion of contaminated blood and blood products, sharing infected needles as intravenous drug user from infected mother to the fetus through placenta. Prevention of AIDS is conducted by NARCO and NGOs, which are trying to educate people about AIDS. There are several steps taken by WHO: use of disposable needles, checking of blood for HIV, free distribution of condoms, and educating people about safe sex. This is the life cycle of HIV. After getting into the body, HIV enters here. There is viral RNA and reverse transcription involved. Then later on, the DNA gets copied, RNA is degraded, the DNA circularizes or integrates into human chromosome. Then see here, it becomes with transcripted with virus of HIV. Then with the host cell activation, viral DNA is transcribed. Then viral RNAs are transcribed, and then viral membrane proteins are transported to the host cell membrane, and final viral assembly and budding takes place, causing HIV. The diagnosis is usually done by ELISA, that is enzyme-linked immunosorbate assay. Cancer. Cell growth and cell differentiation is a controlled mechanism which gets damaged in cancer cells. There is no contact inhibition, that is, in which other surrounding cells inhibit the controlled growth, due to which they are kept on dividing and ultimately form tumor. There are two types of tumor: benign and malignant. Benign remains confined to a particular location. Malignant are proliferating cells which move from one place to the other. Causes could be due to physical, chemical, biological agents which bring about uncontrolled growth. And then physical carcinogens like UV X-rays and gamma rays, chemical carcinogen like aniline rays and chemicals of tobacco, tumor viruses, which are also known as oncogenic viruses. The detection is easily done through biopsy and histopathological studies of tissues, blood and bone marrow test, MRI, CT scan, or radiography. Use of antibiotics against cancer-specific antigen. The treatment includes surgery, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, immunotherapy, drug therapy, which could be of opioids, cannabinoids, coca-alcohols, barbiturates, amphetamines, benzodiazepines, and LSD. I hope you understand this lesson well. Please feel free to comment below and don't forget to follow me. Thank you.